Today's lab, we're going to work on HTTP2 request smuggling via CRLF, carriage return line feed injection. This lab is based off of James Kettle's white paper. This example here, H2TE via request header injection. We can consult this later on if needed. Let's get on the lab. I've already opened it up here. You see that there's a search blog, a feature here. I'm just going to put in, search a few items. And part of the lab, the goal of the lab is using downgrading. We need to, there's a victim who's going to access an account every 15 seconds. We want to gain access to that person's account. Well, that means we're going to have to somehow find a way to smuggle a request and append someone else's request to ours so that we can gain access, see their headers, and most likely cookie. So other users of this web app would probably be using this. They'd be submitting requests here, and this is the spot where we would want to gain access to those requests. So I've already made a few requests in here. We can go to the proxy or the history. So here's a post where I just did a search for phone. I'm gonna send this to repeater. Just send it through. Okay. Here's what you want to do. You go to repeater, allow H2ALPN override. That means both. That puts this synchronized. Okay, you need that. Now, this would be an area where hopefully we could use this to smuggle someone else's request in. This is a methodology I like to use for request smuggling. I go into extensions and request smuggler, smuggle probe, and since this is H2, we're going to do H2 smuggle probe. I'm going to hit OK. I did perform this earlier, and I had one, and you see this is what I was given here. So you could use this, but since we've already determined that it's going to be on this page, we need to somehow use this search feature to capture other people's requests. I'm going to delete some of these headers just to clear things up. You don't need them all. I'm going to leave content type. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to leave content length. And I'm going to send this through. And you see it's logging all of our requests. If I refresh this, see 3 results for phone. Send that through. So you see we're sending this through, refreshing here. And you see this? So that's what we need to do. Smuggle something in here, send it there, refresh this page, and hopefully if we've smuggled someone else's request in here or had their request appended to our smuggled request, then their information hopefully will pop up there. Now here's what you have to do. This is where H2 gets a little more difficult because it is a binary protocol, not text-based. We have request headers. This is where we need to inject a header. Specifically, we need to inject transfer encoding. So we're actually going to do something like this, foo, and we're going to have B for the value /r/n, sneak in the transfer encoding. I'm just going to, and the way you do that, there's this plus sign down here to add a new header. We're in request headers under the inspector tab. So I'm going to name this one foo. And I'm going to give it the value, just an arbitrary value here, /r/n. And so you see /r/n is already included. I'm going to hit add. Now you see here it says kettled. So that means that first part's already done. Now you see here it's left the search computers part. Here we can just try testing it out, see if we can get a 404 response. So we have 0 to essentially terminate it, and see if we can smuggle in extra information. And there's 404 not found, so you see 200, 404. So it seems like every other request is going to 404. So that means that we have caused the backend to append a subsequent request to the smuggle prefix. So now what we can do is we can just leave that 0 the way it is, and let's go ahead and just put in get rid of that smuggle. So now we want to smuggle in a post. All right, now we need our host header and value. So right there, this is our lab. Go back into repeater tab. Here we go. Put that there. We're going to need our cookie session ID. So go back here. Just this right here. Okay, repeater. And there's our cookie. And now the content length. Now keep in mind, you need a long enough content length to tell the server to wait for another request. So we need to tell the server to wait long enough for the smuggled request and for someone else's request to be appended to what we're doing. And so now we could just use the search feature. So now we're still making a request to that search. See, we're smuggling a post request to the search box, and we're just putting arbitrary, just X, whatever. And the larger this content length number is, the longer it will hang, and the more potential information you can get, or request headers you can get from your victim. So I'm going to bump this up to 900 to ensure we can gain, and then immediately hit this. Okay, X post, that's what we just submitted. So the goal here is you want to put this through and refresh this page. If you did it correctly, if you got lucky, you'll see a GET request with the victim's headers, but we don't, we just see that, our request. So you have to give it some time. It says, the lab says someone waits 15 seconds before they make another request. So we'll give this some time. I might pause the video and come back when it's done. Okay, here we are. We captured someone's request. This is a GET request. I had to send this through a few more times. So I just sent this through, and eventually what happened is, before what was happening is that my request was being reflected on this page. Basically it was appended to the search parameter, but now what happened is that another user's GET request has been appended, and we want to steal their session. Okay, well, there's their session right there. Here's what you do. Now you have their session cookie. I'm just going to copy that, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to the proxy tab, the intercept. I'm going to say intercept on, and now I'm just going to go up here. I'm going to right click home, open new tab. So I'm making a request for the home. I'm going to replace my session ID or cookie with the one I just stole from the victim. So forward this. Okay, looks like we solved it. Forward it. And session, just go ahead and forward. And there we go, we solved it. So you see, that's what we did. And in summation, we were able to determine that we could cause a 404, and what that meant was we were able to prove that there was a disagreement between front and back end, but not only that, there was also the request smuggling probe alerted us to the vulnerability. And we then crafted this to smuggle in this post request. Here's the search box. And then what we were able to do is I actually increased the content length. I went right to 900, didn't leave it at 800. And that waited. Another user's request was appended to ours. That GET request contained their session information. Now we hijacked it, and we solved the lab. Good to go. All right. And I'll see you in the next video.